Hey everyone, thanks so much for coming and attending the very last talk of the day. I know you guys had a long day, but I had a blast here at Indie Jam, and I hope you guys did too. A round of applause to all the fellow presenters today. Really incredible sessions. I hope you guys took away a lot. I certainly did. This is my first ever Indie Jam, and I am so surprised and incredibly delighted by all the games that I've gotten to see, all the talents that I've got to meet. It's really quite something. So you guys deserve all the praise, and I hope you guys continue to go on to make some incredible work. So I'm here to give the final talk of today. It's called Build the Killer Pitch, Get Your Game Noticed or Die Trying. In the 3 years that I've been working at Xbox, I have had the chance to work with a lot of game developers. Some of you are in the room here today, which I'm super honored for. But I get asked one of two questions a lot. The first question I get asked a lot is, how do I get a Game Pass deal? All right. Well, I can't really answer that question. But the second question I get asked a lot, and typically mostly from game developers who are starting their journey out or making their first game, is how do I get my game noticed? Whether that's by us at Xbox or by publishers or even players. And so the answer I try to give people is to build a killer pitch. And I'm not talking solely about how you build a pitch deck, but really it's about a way you talk about and how you build awareness and attention for your game in the public space and for your intended audience in such a way that you are able to then get the sort of action or return that you're looking for, whether that is wish lists, whether that's money, or whether that's publisher support or something from a platform. So, over the course of my career in the past 15 years, I've worked at a number of consumer brands, from Razer to Riot Games at Facebook, and then now at Xbox. And I have seen the industry go through a ton of changes. But the one thing that stayed the constant is that from time immemorial, people know what they want, all right? Or at least they think they do. And they come to the table or the industry or games with a certain set of expectations. And your job as game developers is to figure out how to fulfill those expectations or to defy them. Just this week alone, as Xbox, I'm sorry for the plug, but I really it's been such a banner week for us. We shadow dropped Oblivion, and then Expedition 33 launched, right? Both to critical acclaim and a lot of player hype. Both fulfilled players' expectations, right, of what games they were there to provide. Whether it's an innovative, fresh take on the JRPG genre with Expedition 33, or an open-world RPG filled with nostalgia, but also some gorgeous graphics with Oblivion. And in some ways, they also broke expectations. For one, we shadow dropped Oblivion, despite all the leaks that happened, It was still quite a sudden surprise for a lot of people. And with Expedition 33, this was a small indie team of 30 or so people that made an incredible turn-based action JRPG that can stand next to some of the greats that are out there in the AAA space. So this is also a plug for Expedition 33 and Oblivion. Go play those two games, they're incredible, and also free on Game Pass. So, meeting or defying expectations is at the root of what makes a game successful and how you garner attention in the industry. And the inverse is true also. If you fail to meet players' expectations, they will just move on from your game, even ever so slightly, because there are 1,001 things that they could be doing with their time and attention at any one time in the day. For a word-of-mouth game like Balatro, which was so strong and it came out of nowhere, and several people today have spoken about Balatro, it defied expectations, right, as a compulsive roguelike game that anyone could pick up and play. Similarly with Marvel Rivals, that's a game that defied expectation because everyone thought the team-based competitive shooter space was dead. And then you have games like Stardew Valley and Minecraft, where it fulfilled players' expectations for a farming sim or open world buildcraft game that you could just spend thousands and thousands of hours in. And so it's important to think about these games as you are making your game, because it's just not enough anymore for you to just make a game and hope for the best, right? You got to think about what expectations does your games fulfill or defy in the player space, right? And how do you go about successfully communicating that to players? This is especially important because the world of video games is competitive today, right? There's a ton of data already out there that proves that hundreds of games are launched every single day. And that across multiple platforms, more than ever, the attention economy is really, really intense, right? All this data just from 2024 just proves that more than ever, people are just playing old games. They're going back to the games that they're comfortable with, and they're going back to the games that fulfill their expectations. And so in order for you to stand out, you really, really got to work very hard at making a game that fulfills or defies that expectation and figure out how best to communicate it. Because there are just 20 or 30 games that are just black holes for attention, and they're continually just taking all the attention away from all the other indie games and all the other games that deserve this, right? Backed by massive marketing budgets and mega corporations that just cannot afford to let these 20 or 30 games die. And as someone who has worked at some of these large gaming publishers and also supported the other side of the spectrum, I can really tell you that the attention and divide for money is super, super vast. So why is it important for you to know what matters to you? Because at the end of the day, the only thing you can really control is what you put out into the public sphere, right? Maybe all you care about is getting enough funding to make the passion project that you want, right? It doesn't matter about the audience. Maybe you just really care about making this one really cool game, right? Maybe you want your specific type of game to reach a specific type of audience. Just as Sarah says, you got to find your community and find your audience for your cozy game or the game that's about tactical mechas. It's really about finding that audience, and maybe that's the thing that you hone in on. Or last but not least, maybe you are ambitious and you want to be at the top of the mountain as the next cultural talking piece, the next Balatro, the next Blueprints, the next Hades, or the next Undertale, the game that people will be talking about and playing about for the rest of their lives. Ask yourself what is critically important, because that will help you define how you will go about defining your killer pitch. And once you figure out what's important to you as a game developer, then you really need to know who is it that is your intended audience to take notice of your game. Are they the players across all these different platforms? Or perhaps it's just specifically a community out there that is just waiting to play your very hyper-specific type of game. Or maybe it's a publisher, right, that you need the help and support of, who will be there to get your game over the finish line or give you the funding and resources that you need, and will also get your games into the hands of the people who need to play your game. Or it's a platform like Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo who you would like to receive some grant support from or the marketing support that you need. Knowing your audience is half the battle because it'll help you sharpen your killer pitch for success. So I hope at this point it's clear that pitching is really just setting up and then fulfilling or defying expectations. When you meet a publisher, they actually will come to the table with their own preconceived notions and ideas of what is it that they're looking for. Maybe it's something to plug a hole in their portfolio, or maybe it's something that's going to help them be the next big thing, right? Whatever it is, they will have expectations that they're coming to the table with, and it's your job as a game developer to meet those expectations or to surprise and delight and defy those expectations. Perhaps you're talking about your game on social media and telling people what your game is about. Perhaps you have a cozy narrative game, and getting to that audience is about meeting their expectations for what a cozy narrative game is supposed to be about and the vibes that they're supposed to give off. If you say you are making a Souls-like, make sure that you fulfill those expectations at the very minimum, because the people who play Souls-likes are a very exacting audience. And so if your Souls-likes doesn't meet the standards of games like Elden Ring, then you have a tough battle on your hand. So it's very critically important that you know for yourself what it is that you're making and how you're going to fulfill or defy those expectations. So with that out of the way, I will try to get into some of the deconstruction of what a killer pitch looks like. The start first is how does your game play or feel like? What is special about it that you are making that you are excited for? This is really important because you being excited about your game is going to get other people excited. If you're not excited about your game, other people cannot be excited for your game. So you got to know what it is that makes your game special. Why is it that you're working on this? And how can you communicate that excitement and that passion to others? Next, you want to think through how are you meeting or defying the expectations of your intended audience. As I mentioned, you got to figure out who that audience is. If you are looking to meet the expectations of players, then figure out who are these players, what are the types of games they're playing that are like yours, and how are you going to fulfill or defy or delight and break those expectations. And last but not least, what is it that you're looking for in return from that audience? What is it that you are sort of exchanging as you meet or defy those expectations? Is it money? Is it wish lists? Or actual support and tangible or otherwise that you're looking for in return? Once you figure out all those three things, it's going to be very, very easy for you to start building that pitch. Whether that's a pitch deck or it's the way you market your game to the public, you got to figure out these three things. And now, let's talk about the hook. So the hook is a really, really short form and easy and fast way for you to describe your game to an audience in a quick way for them to understand what exactly it is about. To be clear, the hook is not the marketing copy, right? The marketing copy will go into depth about what the game is actually about. But the hook is really there for you to get across with very, very quick ease what your game is. Let me give some examples. So here we have Kriegsrun Tactics and Coral Island. Hope you guys are familiar with some of these games. For Kriegsrun Tactics, the hook that I would give is it's XCOM with fully customizable mechs and Darkest Dungeon-like squad management. And for Coral Island, it's Stardew Valley, but with coral reef restoration and dateable hot mermaid daddies. So, as you can see, hopefully that's gonna make you want to play these games, right? If you're a fan of Stardew Valley, but you couldn't date hot mermaid daddies in Stardew Valley, now you can, right? And with Kriegsrun Tactics, if you're a fan of the XCOM, if you're a fan of XCOM-like games, this should be all it takes for you to want to sign up for this. So it's really critically important for you when you think about your hook. It's finding the way and using familiar types of games and things to explain what your game is about. I was speaking to someone earlier today, and they were telling me their game was moving out but with firefighting. And that was all it took for me to really know in my head already what exactly that game was about. And I was instantly hooked. So you want to figure out what your hook is because you're going to be in a situation where you might have to deliver an elevator pitch. Imagine you're at Indie Jam and you are in the lift with Vlad from Neon Doctrine, which is a non-0% chance of happening, right? And, he asks, so what's your game about? And he's got 1,001 other things on his mind and maybe a couple of drinks as well. And you only have 30 seconds to tell him about your game. So you got to use your hook because this is the only chance you get to tell him about your awesome game, right? So the hook is important. And if you hook him, he might set up a follow-up meeting with you, right? So the hook is fundamentally important. Here's a secret tip. The publishers themselves and people in this circle, they tell each other about games using hooks because they don't have very much time and they're not going to go into full depth or pull out a pitch deck. They're actually going to tell each other, hey, did you hear about this game that's a Balatro-like? Damn, that's sick. Things like that. So it's really crucially important that you communicate a good hook because the publishers themselves are telling each other about games using hooks too. All right? But the hook also works on players, right? I love Twitter because Twitter has incredible trends that game devs latch onto. And so they're inbuilt tools as hooks for ways to grab an audience's attention incredibly fast. So I like this trend on Twitter in particular called How People Describe Our Game. And here you got really two amazing games. Gamecom Team, Troublemaker, awesome. Indonesia Yakuza, Like a Dragon, Yakuza plus God Hand plus Bully, stupidly fun action comedy game. That's all you need to know exactly what their game is. And then Malapetaka, amazing. GBA first-person shooter, Mega Man meets Doom, Mega Man 8-bit deathmatch single player. Like, those are all you need to know that makes you want to find out more, wishlist the game, or even really buy the copy of the game. So really it's incredibly important that you think about your hook and then leverage all these trends on Twitter and other social platforms in order to use the attention momentum to be able to sell your game, right? And once you've sold your game, the next critical thing you want to do is show your game immediately, right? And I think this is the one thing that I've seen in my personal experience all the time is that I've gone into a ton of meetings with a lot of developers where they open their pitch deck and it starts with a lore dump, right? They tell me my game is about the 1930s and it's about this guy or this girl and she's come from a broken childhood. No one cares or wants to know about that. People only want to see what the game looks like and how it plays, right? So you only have 15 to 30 minutes or even less to sell somebody on your game, whether that's on social media where they're scrolling really fast away or in a meeting with a publisher. You want to immediately show the game, right? Show your game immediately. Videos and GIFs are best, pictures second, and then a text description of how the game actually plays last. It's fundamentally important you do this because actually all people want to know is they want to see the game and then park it away in their brain against all their own preconceived notions and judgments about how this game is against all the other things that are in their brain, right? Oh, this is like Balatro-like. This is going to be hot because of this and that reason. This is an XCOM-like. I see the trends with XCOM. This is how I think this is going to fit. So it's fundamentally important that you show the game immediately so that they can you can meet their expectations or even defy them. Here's another cool game. I wonder whose game is this? So it's really critically important that you also sell the unique selling point of your game up front. And if you have a unique selling point, something that actually defies expectations, you want to give that right away. So Let's Build a Dungeon, which is a super incredibly amazing game that I'm excited for, is a management sim where you run an MMO, but actually also get to build the entire worlds and play in them with your friends. How crazy is that? And so this is really an incredible, important moment where you need to sell people on that hook, right? And you need to do that immediately the moment you sit down with a publisher or you open up your social media and you post online, right? So it's really fundamentally important that you think through what that hook is, where you're going to defy or meet expectations. Following on from that, yes, you can then start to break down your gameplay features. Tell the person that you've got on the hook what exactly it is that your game offers, right? Here's an incredible game, Cat Quest from Gentle Bros, and they break down very neatly all the things that you can do in the game. Delve into varied dungeons, explore the world at your leisure, or sail the seas and battle in your own ship. What's so cool about this is that you can actually use this across a variety of platforms, whether that's populating your store page on Steam, with all the really cool content and features that you got, or using it as individual posts on social media, or as I mentioned before, in your meetings with publishers. But you want to set it up, you want to hook them in, and then break down your gameplay features. The next thing you want to give your audience is an expectation of when they can play your game, right? This is especially true when you're marketing to players. Players want to know exactly when they're going to get to play the cool thing that you just told them was cool, right? If it's a little far out, they are okay to wait as long as you've hooked them in. If it's something that only meets or maybe is not up to their expectations, they'll forget it in an instant and wait till the next time around when you bring it up to them. So it's crucially important that you give them a sense for how long they're going to have to wait and what is that waiting time. For potential investors, platforms, and publishers, timing expectations, you should use expectations of timing to your favor. Some publishers need to see games way in advance, including platforms, so that they can make judgment decisions on how to fund and support and resource these things. Whereas for some, you can use the shorter time frame in your favor because it creates a sense of urgency. For instance, if you tell a publisher or a platform, hey, I'm going to launch this thing in about 6 to 8 months, that might get a fire on their ass to maybe want to fund or support their game because it's something that you've got them on the hook for. In most cases, though, you want to make sure you give the publisher or platform enough breathing room to be able to make good judgment calls on how best to support the game, give you good enough runway for marketing support and things like that. So you really, really want to think about when your audience can expect to play the game and how you approach that conversation with the right audience. Next, when it's time to ask for money, make sure you budget what you need for and be transparent, but also be fair about how much more you want to ask for, right? You want to be clear with publishers and platforms in particular. What do you need? Do you need money for manpower? Is it the development cost? Is it the other resources? Is it marketing? In the cases of grants, because there are platforms and government agencies and bodies that give grants, there may be a specific amount that's being handed out, but it's still very good for you to share exactly what your budget breakdown is so that these people can see that you have your finances and your budgeting buttoned up and that you are a sensible studio who can actually carry out on your vision. And say you're doing this as part of a Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign, you always want to share where the money is going to and why the contributions are important. Ultimately, though, for players, they will already fund your game if you've got them on the hook with an awesome idea. As long as they know that you're going to use that money sensibly, they'll open their wallets and make sure that you are funded so that they can play the game that you told them that they could play. But at the end of the day, you should ask for what you think your game is worth, right? It's always better to ask for more money. Don't undersell your game. It's not always the case that asking for less money makes it easier for you to get funded. Fundamentally, this is the thing that I see a lot with a lot of developers when they come to me, and I'm sure with other publishers too. They ask for the bare minimum. And while that's fine, it also doesn't give me as much confidence as a team that knows that they're going to use the money appropriately to make the game that the best they can be, right? So ask for a fair amount that you think your game is worth, and then go and ask for that boldly. Once you set your expectations with your audience, once you've got them on the hook and you've really sold them on the amazingness of your game, the player, publisher, investor, or platform may ask you when and or how can they get a hold of your game, whether that's a demo, a build, an alpha, or prototype. If you have it on hand in that moment when you're speaking to somebody or you have a demo to post online, that is amazing because it's a perfect 1-2 punch, right? You've set up the expectation and then you've now fulfilled or defied that expectation, right? It's really incredibly important because they want to see that you are actually able to carry out your vision and that everything you sold to them verbally or visually, they actually can play for themselves and make that judgment call. So always have a build or demo in hand if you are very comfortable with that, and also prepare to upload builds on the internet for people to play. If you're looking for feedback from audiences, this is the best time to do it, right? And don't be afraid because feedback is a good thing. It will help you continue to refine and sharpen what you're making to be the best thing that it can be. The last thing I'll say is that you should be persistent, right? Whether that's pitching to a publisher, a platform, or marketing your game, talk about it often and all the time. Show up on people's doorsteps, be off top of mind, spam their WhatsApp or emails because other people are doing it. Don't be paiseh, all right? Because there are people who are not, all right? They are reaching out to publishers and platforms all the time, and you should be doing the same too. In this economy where expectations and attention are really at a premium, you have to be on top of people's minds all the time. This includes on social media too, where you should be constantly generating content and reminding people that your game exists, and they should be excited and wait to play it, right? No one's going to fault you for being persistent. In fact, I know plenty of Western developers who are very good at this, and so I think us in Southeast Asia should be just as good at this. In any case, the more you pitch and the more you market and the more you put yourself out there and put your game out there, the better you will get at all of this stuff. So I urge you and I constantly encourage everyone to get really good at pitching. And I don't mean just pitching to publishers. It's also pitching to players and putting your game out there in a way that is going to meet or defy their expectations. The last secret tip I will share, though, and this is sort of counter to everything I've spoken about, is that with upcoming showcases, actually a lot of the time, publishers and platforms love to leverage unannounced games for their own ways to reach audiences to meet or defy expectations, right? A lot of publishers and platforms love to surprise their audiences with new things. And so you have to think for yourself, when you have something that you're ready to share with the world, whether you should hold on hold off on sharing it immediately and use this as an opportunity to weaponize an exchange with a publisher or platform for an awesome showcase spot, which is something that you should really, really consider. And then also, as a side note, a shout out to the folks who are running the C Games Showcase that's coming out at SGF. So tune into that later this June. But it's really critically important that you think about this stuff, because this is just as much as part of your marketing and your killer pitch as doing all that stuff yourself. And last but not least, good luck, and most importantly, have fun, right? Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's putting your game out there. This is your baby, and this is the thing that you care most about. And you need to do it on your own terms, sustainably, and do it while you're having fun, right? Like, don't burn yourselves out, don't engage unethically, and do the right things and share your passion with the world, and the people will respond in kind. I truly believe this, and you guys all have something to share, and I'm really, really excited for you guys to share it. Shameless plug time. We also, as Xbox, are here to support, right? Look, if you got something cool that you want to share with me, feel free to find me. I am here to provide support, and we as Xbox provide a number of things. There are a number of games that have come out from Malaysia and Southeast Asia that we've already supported. We do everything from technical support to access to marketing channels and opportunities, community reach, and of course funding, which is critically important, right? I've been personally involved in several launches and also marketing pushes for a lot of games, and some that are coming out. So I'm really excited to be able to talk to you guys about what you're making, and hopefully to see if we can help you out with all that. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jun, for the presentation. That was really, really good.
Thank you.
My question is, when you're reviewing pitch decks, are there any pet peeves or things that you think should not be in the pitch deck?
Yes, 100%. Don't give me the lore exposition on the first page. Show me the game right away. You have a video of the game, gameplay trailer that I can watch immediately. I would love to do that. If I can play the game even before I watch the trailer, even better. So like I said, don't wait till the end to show the game. Game first, exposition last.
Thank you.
So I'm a solo game developer.
Nice.
And I'm wondering how soon in the process of making my game should I start working on my pitch deck?
That's a very good question. I would say as soon as you are comfortable talking to people about it, right? For some platforms and certain publishers, the time spent between when you start the conversation to when you actually get some sort of support can be a very long wait. So the sooner you start those conversations, the better. Even if it's unannounced and not talked about broadly, that's fine, because obviously, there's confidentiality and all of that. But the moment you're comfortable, you should start those conversations.
Hi, sorry, I have a question. You
Sure.
said about being persistent, following up, right? I kind of want to know how much is too much, because obviously, for example, if I wanted being in an Xbox Game Pass, I don't want to be sending you an email every single day, and I feel like I don't want to be blocked, basically.
Well,
blacklisted.
I mean, this sort of, I guess the short and truth answer is that this is different from individual to individual. Like, for instance, I get hundreds of emails a day, and I can't respond to all of them at once anyway. So even if someone were being persistent with me and I couldn't get to it, I couldn't tell you that I was annoyed at that email if I didn't see it, right? So in that regard, persistency at least allows me to then keep that person top of mind. But for others, they might be like, oh my God, why is this person texting me, emailing me, and then calling me at 3 a.m. in the night? In some cases, you have to just find that balance. But I think figuring out a way of creating that urgency where you put the onus on the publisher or platform or whoever it is to take action is more important than if you just continually spam their inbox. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Uh, I've did many pitches before, and the cold hard truth is that at the end of the day, it's about making money. How much money can this game make for us? How much will it cost? So, when giving our pitches, how do we balance out presenting our cost of development for the game and how much and the possible revenue, not actual but possible revenue from the game into the pitch, when we also want to also showcase how good our game is? How do we balance the two?
Well, I mean, the short of it is that publishers will make a lot of their own, and platforms will do their own calculations at the end of the day anyway. So whatever number you put, that it'll always go up against whatever number is in the publisher and platform's head. What you can do is do as much of your own sort of calculations and research that you think is going to help you make your case. So, for instance, a lot of the better pitches that I see will usually include like competitor analysis. My game is a like for like with this or similar in the same vein. Here are all the numbers and stats for how these games have done, and here's how I think my game will do in comparison. You have to be realistic also. You know, if your game is a Hades-like, you're not necessarily going to hit Hades numbers out of the gate, but at least what you think it could potentially do in a similar genre, right? So you have those sort of like financial calculations done, and then on top of that, you give your cost breakdowns and also what you think a fair amount for your game should deserve above and beyond all of that, right? You think, yes, this is how a game like mine would do in the public space, but on top of that, I think my game is worth this much because of X and Y reason, unique selling point 1, gameplay feature 2, whatever it is. You just want to have an honest conversation, or as honest of a conversation you can have with the platform or publisher that you're going to speak with. I hope that helps. Does it? Yep.
Hi, I'm just wondering, you did mention something about time frame of announcing a game launch, right? What is, would you say, a sweet spot? Like, is it when it's too long and it's too short? But I just want to know roughly.
Well, at least I can speak from Xbox experience, but the rule of thumb is usually a minimum of a year, right? You want to give a good enough runway of time for you to build that attention and audience, especially if you're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting of your own marketing, right? You're going to start a social media account for the game. You're going to start building the traction on Instagram or TikTok or wherever. You need to build that time to build that audience, and then start also seeding to like press and like community and like influencers. It takes time. So a year minimum is good, and then you can also plan for showcases and then like events that you're going to show up at.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
So you mentioned about fulfilling expectations and defying expectations during a pitch. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen the examples you give that are like more like fulfilling expectations. What are the ones that defy expectations?
Right. Let's Build a Dungeon is one of those. The moment I saw that game, I was instantly hooked. So I've seen 1,001 management sims, but a management sim that allows people to like go into those games and like play them. So it's really about how you like position your game in such a way where it's like a fresh take on the genre. It's a combination of things that maybe people have never played or will have not thought about before. A game like Balatro, for instance, is a roguelike poker game. That is defying expectations in a lot of ways, especially in a roguelike genre that people could consider tired.
So just an example, let's say if somebody comes up with I have a cozy game and
Yes.
we have a cat farm, but it's also Souls-like. Is that considered defying
That's crazy.
expectations?
I've never heard of that. but
So it's like cat farm game.
a cat farm game that's also a Souls-like is cool. I would definitely check that out.
Okay, I will take note of that.
But the reason why I also talked about meeting or defying expectation, because there's nothing wrong with meeting expectations, right? To be candid, a lot of the games out there are built to meet expectations of a genre, of an audience, of a community, right? And people want to play the games or pay games and know what they're paying for, right? And so meeting expectations is not a bad thing. But every once in a while, you get a game that defies expectations, and that's really, really cool. But it's also just as much about how you communicate that.
Afternoon.
Hi.
I'm still pretty greenhorn in this game dev environment. But,
Awesome.
So I really have just two questions about the first question I have really is just when you make demos and other stuff to show off your game, generally speaking, what is like the most effective way to get your feedback from the people who play test your game?
That's a very good question. You should attend Sarah's talk on player feedback. Yeah, I'm kidding, but like the very simple answer to that is that see how some of the more established indies do it. You know, they typically run Discord player tests where they put the game out for a short period of time and invite people to just sign up to an alpha, whether that's on Steam or through itch or getting a build directly in Discord, and then like having people play it and then running a Google survey form or something. That's usually the best way to do it, and there are more than willing people out there who are really interested to try new stuff and really give feedback because they want to participate.
So is it more effective if it's like a Google form for like multi-choice questions and all that stuff, or is it better if it's something similar to like a Steam comment page where it's like it lists down a whole paragraph where the users can write down a whole paragraph? Because Steam comments, some of them can be a bit creative with how they organize the information. So like, what kind of information are we looking for when we kind of like try to gather the information for player feedback?
I guess that's really up to you. I mean, I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but the truth is, I mean, you would know your game best.
Right.
And what is the sort of things that you need in terms of feedback? Like, is it the gameplay loop? Is it the combat if it has combat? Is it the narrative if it has a narrative? Is it the art style? Only you know what is it that you're making and what is it that you want the audiences to be super in tune to, and you ask those questions. Maybe it's the whole thing, right? And you have a list of questions about every single thing. Be gracious in terms of the fact that you are asking of people's time to test and try your game, but in return, they're going to give you valuable feedback to improve and iterate.
So generally, just like an easy way for people to leave comments in, or like a Google form, is the easiest and quickest way to get.
You want as much data as possible. A Google form is great.
All right. Then second question would be like, usually do people, when you want to reach out to publishers and stuff, do you reach out to them by like writing emails and trying to advertise your game? And if so, when they like, is the format usually just like they ask, like they would just want to know more about your game and you have to write down the details and show videos and stuff?
Most publishers or at least platforms will have a dedicated site or a place you can go with an email that you can drop a deck to, but they'll also sometimes have exacting requirements of what it is they want you to include, like, you know, how you need to list your subject header, how you need to introduce yourself. So you make sure you just follow those guidelines, and make sure that you fulfill those needs.
So like when we like show the game off, like do we also take some like the advice that you showed, like just put
Definitely
GIFs, videos?
Show the game right away.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hi, Junsheng.
Hey Ben, how's it
Right.
going?
Yeah, thanks for sharing. It's great. So my question is more regarding about, I think, market positions about your own game, because just now you mentioned when building your hook, it's something like using a famous household name in this genre, like let's say Coral Island is like Stardew Valley with corals, all that. But I was just thinking that is using a famous household name in this genre always a good thing, or is it like a double-edged sword? Because like how you say, you want your game to fulfill and define the expectation of your audience, right? So when you use the household name of this genre and you are targeting a specific kind of audience in that genre, but maybe when they play, they feel like, oh, it's not just, but it's just a lot worse than Stardew Valley. Why don't I just play Stardew Valley, right? So maybe need your opinions on that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. The short answer to that question is, why are you making it in that genre then? If you don't think you have the stones to make, no, I'm kidding. It is a double-edged sword, as you said, and there'll be many cases where someone said they're Hades-like, and you play it and it's definitely nowhere near Hades. But I think the more important thing is that using these as a crutch is more as a short form. And then once you've hooked them on what it is that you're making, that's when you go into more detail about what exactly your game is about and setting up the expectation, which is why I said that the whole pitch is about setting up the expectation. The hook is there to get them interested in what you're selling, and then you go into more detail about exactly what it is you provide, which is why you break down the features, you actually show a video, and best still is you actually get them to play the game early. And all this will help to hopefully make sure that you're selling accurately what it is, and then having that conversation with your intended audience about what exactly they're getting in for.
I see, okay. Thank you.
No worries. All right. Oh, okay.
Hi, June. Thanks for having us on your podcast.
Oh, thank you. No worries. My pleasure.
So, sort of riffing off of what REF asked you earlier, in your last slide, you say, like, consider withholding your game's public reveal in order to build that sort of potential opportunity or leverage with these showcases. But surely, for those of us who hang out on Twitter or Blue Sky or where all the game development wisdom droppers commonly, say things like, you gotta show your game, get your Steam page up as soon as possible, get those wish lists, get all that attention as soon as you've got a concept worth showing. How do you balance that against the idea that, as REF said, you want to find ways to encourage the publishers, the platforms to develop FOMO for your game? How am I supposed to take this advice of reveal as soon as possible versus withhold information for showcase stuff? What's your take on that?
There is no golden path to like success for a game developer. If you ask 100 game developers, they'll tell you they did 100 different things. And so my secret tip is just one potential tool in your arsenal as a game developer. It may be better that you start out by talking about your game on social media. It may be better for you to have been picked up unannounced by a publisher who will then announce your game for you at a big show. It really ultimately comes down to what it is that you're comfortable with and what it is that you think is going to be the best leverage for the types of success you're looking for, which is why I asked at the start that you need to know what it is that you're looking for. Some people are really content to make the game, right? That it doesn't matter what the audience thinks or wants. It's really just you want to put your game out there. And so there are devs who just do very well on that. They put it up on social media and they just share about their games constantly every day. And there are others still, and especially for when you move up the bracket to about the double, to triple I, to the single and the double A's, where trading that attention that they could have done by themselves through social for an unannounced opportunity at a big showcase is how you build the buzz and the wow, and then you follow that up with your own conversations. So it's more a case of find what you think is going to work best for you. And for most of you, I think, especially those starting out, you're going to have to do a lot of that heavy lifting on your own, but it's going to help you build the muscles that then will allow you to then have conversations with people about more sophisticated opportunities. Hope that answers your question.